Welcome everybody to the first edition of List and Sell Implementer for 2015. We did have an earlier version, and of course the site has been up for some time, but I'd like to welcome one and all to Getting Double Vision. And as we go around the country, we are getting some extraordinary stories just about every other day. I've been pleased to say that I even sat with the principal of an office today, and he was running by me. He said, look, I really want to learn how to close some listing presentations. And I asked him a couple of questions, had a look at it, and I made the very significant point. I said, look, half the battle is not necessarily knowing how to close someone, it's knowing how to educate those sellers successfully. And if you educate them successfully on the difference between market value and comparative value, you'll almost be there, because the sellers will ultimately, in turn, begin closing themselves. So we're getting some wonderful results all around the country. Just about every day I hear of salespeople in Perth, salespeople in Brisbane, of course, New Zealand. We've got our friends from Auckland on board tonight, and some really exciting stuff coming up as we go toward the end of the year, notably at Real Estate Rockstar. Some of those things I'll be sharing with you this evening, because it is pretty exciting. All right, let's get started with this List and Sell Implementer thing and start talking about where we need to start, and that is in the black. Those of you that have been and spent time at List and Sell will know that I make a very big point about this color coding system that we use in terms of functionality. Black being basically spending your time strategically thinking about what it is that you propose to do, looking at future sales and distribution, and of course, basically planning your day out. Now, you're going to see me move across to red in the planning stage, but this is pretty much thinking about what you want to do. It's about strategy, it's about efficiency, it's about creating leverage through thought and motivation. If you've got your little blue book there and you're making notes, here's one thing I really want to get across to you, and that is this. The trick behind this business is not to outwork it. I know lots of you that I've started working with. I know that Francis Fry, you're on here, and we talked about the fact we first got together in Perth that you have been working your little hiney out, and I said, well, it's not about the hours, it's not about the time you invest in it, it's about thinking about how you can create a straight line between 2 points. So of course, if you want to find sellers, you need to find the quickest and most efficient way to get sellers, and many of them in a short space of time. If you want to get listings, you've got to think about how you can create an impression within about 5 to 10 minutes. So to me, this requires a great deal of thought and analysis before you go ahead and engage in any task. The second step is about putting together some sort of plan. Now, this isn't always in writing, but it's at least looking at how you're going to tackle something in terms of priority. What's the most important thing to do? What sequence do you need to create in tasking? And most important of all, about being thoroughly prepared. I learnt this the hard way in the early stages of my profession when, I was a young kid up against what was seemingly, to me at that stage at least, middle-aged people who had probably bought or sold their own real estate. And I not only was a kid, I looked like one too. I only grew some facial hair from the neck up, but geez, I tell you what, you'd be forgiven for thinking that I was in my teens when I was actually in my early 20s. So I had to make sure that I looked the part, and when I opened my mouth, the right words fell out. But I also learned about preparation, and that was preparing for every possible contingency to mitigate any chance of a competitor outgunning me at the listing presentation. Now, not only was I very much aware of the fact that whatever the rest of the profession were doing in tandem, that they couldn't actually be doing it right. I knew that we just had to create a discernible point of difference. But also, what I also became acutely aware of aside from the fact that we needed to create that point of difference, was that if I was thoroughly prepared for every contingency, that would in turn into a decided advantage. And the third thing, and of course it's not that we don't want to execute, certainly we do, but if you get these two right, if you think things thoroughly through, if you have a strong plan to support that, when you do get into execution, it can be fundamentally about habits, about performance of those habits, and about creating a routine. But understand that execution, at least in the respect of habits, performance, and routine, must be supported by significant thought, fantastic planning, and of course, as you're in execution, if the execution with those habits, performance, and routine isn't driving you toward the desired result, don't think what I've got to do here is outwork it. Think about outsmarting it. So if you're writing that thing down from the beginning, the name of the game is not to outwork it. It's not to focus all of your energy purely in execution. It's to outsmart it. And to me, that means an emphasis, in the first instance at least, must be placed upon thinking. And not just thinking it through, but also how you think. And that moves us to the first facet of implementation, not just in acquiring the skill of listing. See, sometimes we think when it comes to listing and selling property, the only real skill we need is that of persuasion through communication to get people to sign agency agreements. Well, I reckon there's lots of skills, and we've just made mention of one page back that a lot of you mightn't have actually realised is a skill, and that is planning. Planning is not just something that comes naturally to some people and not so naturally to others. It is a skilled disposition that takes years to master. So the first facet of acquiring a skill, in my opinion, is the psychology that underpins that skill. So if many of you have found yourself left wanting in a listing presentation, and if you do have a pen at the ready, I'll give you a clear indicator as to whether or not you've made it as a listing salesperson, or whether or not you've still got a lot of ground to cover before you get there. And that is quite simply this. For every 10 presentations that you do, you should be able to secure 8 of them as listings. Now, if you're not, and these need to be your choosing, of course, I mean, if you walked away from 1 or 2, wouldn't bother me. If you're doing 20 a month and you've got 16, that would be fantastic. But they must be of your choosing. This is vitally important. All right, so that's the first facet, and that's something we're going to cover off here. And to me, that psychological disposition, although it's not coloured that way here, would be in the black. It would be black tasks again. The practicality, which is, of course, the blue tasks down the bottom, yeah, that's important, but understand this. Before you get to the dialogue, before you get to the practical execution of your work, you must have the psychological component worked out that underpins that. And then, of course, you can move to the proof, which, of course, is the results. The proof being the actual achievement of those listings, converting them over to sales, and this in turn feeds the psych. Now, why do I bring this up? When we talk about think, plan, act, this is the context, or the order of the context in which you have to get these in place. So as we embark on List and Sell Implementer, one of the first things I want to start to deal with from today is the psychological disposition that you have as a real estate salesperson pitched against your competition. Now, you've all heard me talk about this. It's a 3-minute and 38-second recording that sits on Sales Trainer Active. To find it, you simply go into the library area. A drop-down box will appear. Sales Trainer Dialogue, hit on there, and then you'll find this. If you're new to Sales Trainer, if you're listening to this and you joined us as a guest, this is available in the freebies section. So if you go onto salestrainer.com.au, click on the freebies section and you'll discover, which will be in the left-hand margin before logging in, this is an after login page, you'll see the difference between comparative value and market value. This 3-minute recording will set you apart. I sat with the owner of a prominent real estate business just the other day, and we were talking about creating a distinction between two other main competitors, which he has struggled over a number of years to get any form of inroads in competing against them. And I said, look, you simply have to embrace this concept that's contained inside these 3 minutes. Get this right, and you will have an advantage that just cannot be measured, cannot be kept up with. Can I just ask, can anyone hear me? Can someone just put a message on there so that I know that you're actually hearing loud and clear? Okay, all good. Yep, fantastic, all good. All right, so that's the first thing. So on your list, we'll have a list of things to do over the coming month. These are all the things that we want you to start with. Now, how do I want you to deal with the difference between comparative market and market value? I want you to listen to this every day for 30 days. Not because I want to drive you nuts with my voice, because I want you to work on the psyche. We have to get your psyche re-engineered. So often I look at real estate salespeople and they talk about having been beaten at a listing because another agent overquoted them, or because another agent got under their guard, or because another agent was claiming they were going to get this runaway price with no sound logical explanation, and the agent that lost the business spent too much time trying to focus on reality. This 3 minutes, I've spent enough time on it now, is key to get onto that. The second thing that I want you to do is start looking at the presentation and performance training when we talk about your listing presentation. And this needs to be gotten right as well. Yeah, so what I would be saying here is we also need, with these, to be listening to these 3 different versions. These are available in Sales Trainer Dialogue, so it's under the Ultimate Listing Agenda Preamble, and this sets the stage for a listing presentation where you'll be heard. And then the other thing that we ask you to have a listen to, which I'm hoping is about to come up on the next page, probably not, no, is on Sales Trainer Audio, to have a listen to the entire recording of the Ultimate Listing presentation. We are redoing that, but what you see there right now will stand the test of time. All you need to do is take the time to have a listen to it. Okay, now let's go to, why does that keep doing that? All right, getting the site re-engineered. The next thing you need to do is also, so you have a listen to that recording on Sales Trainer Audio, which I've just mentioned, and get some presentation and performance training. What I would then suggest that you do, as crude and as awkward as some of you might feel, if you can buddy with someone in the office, this is the best thing you can possibly do. Spend 30 minutes to about an hour on it once a week. For us, it used to always be on a Friday morning, and just take it in turns of presenting to each other. Now, if that's not possible and you're working solo in an office where you're not getting that type of support, there's still no excuse. Go home to your family, sit with your kids and try to run the routine. Even if your kids get to know the presentation better than you do, that's still much better. I can honestly tell you, in 27 years of telling real estate, some of my best listing presentations ever were given to the windscreen of my car by myself. So this is the place to start. You have to hone those questions. You have to know the answer to those questions and develop the ability to lead people to a definitive conclusion. And this is where we talk about, I am more than happy if you happen to know that I'm in the area and you want to catch up for coffee and you want to sit in front of me and run a listing presentation. Well, you can see from these photographs below, I've had probably upwards of 3,000 salespeople at various stages present to me their listing presentations. In front of you, there are some of the best, actually. And believe you me, how important is this? Down in the bottom corner here is Andrew Strong. Just met with him the other day. Gordon Spring, this bloke brings in the best part of $2 million, yet still is only too happy to sit and re-hone his presentation skills. Cheeky Dunlop, just the same up the top here, and there's a couple of new guys on board. Every single week for at least an hour, redo that stuff till you get it honed inside. Planning. Then we move to the next phase. Now, there'll be lots more on the psych, and we'll get to that next month. But if all you do on those over the next 30 days is each day listen to that 3-minute recording of the difference between market value and comparative value, grab hold and listen to each, I would say do that at least every second or third day. Listen to the preamble on the listing presentation. So there's 3 different versions. There's 20 minutes there. So there's a fair bit to listen to, but it will give you 3 different perspectives and you will become fairly versatile if you listen to those. And then, of course, download either the CD or iTunes, the Sales Trainer audio version of the Ultimate Listing presentation, and just hone those things in. You do that and you're well and truly on the way. All right, the next thing that we want to talk about is the paper-based diary. Now, I've had the absolute mickey taken out of me about this, but I have to really bring you into something because I'm just going to check and see whether, yes, she is here, the irrepressible, the genius that is Jackie G. Hi, Jack, how are you?
Hey, I'm great.
Here she is, folks. I've brought her away on the eve of her going away for a big rock, away for a big, big holiday that's been in the plan for some time.
Mm-hmm.
Are you nervous?
Am I nervous about going away?
Haven't been on a plane for that long in the sky, though, have you?
No. I'll think about it when I get on the plane. There's too much to do beforehand.
Well, this is our lady riding point on the Beyond Compare thing that we'll be talking about at Real Estate Rockstar. But today, early this morning, we had a long discussion about diaries, and you led on a couple of things there, Jack, didn't you?
Yeah.
And the first one was?
Well, the fact that when I started in real estate, I didn't know computers, I didn't know how to work it. So paper diary was everything to me. But even today, I still, even though I've gone to using electronics so that my team can see what I'm doing, where I'm at and everything, it's better for communication with others. But the big thing is even today, every phone call that I make, I actually have a pad. And so it is like I'm still using a paper diary because every phone call I make notes on it, what they've inquired about, if it's a buyer or if it's a property that I'm going to go and do an appraisal on. So, I still think you need the paper trails.
Yeah, so the big thing was, and this is the most important thing, that when we had our conversation today, Jackie said, well, it's only been 18 months since I've been using your electronic diary, and we'll get to the reason that primarily that you went across to the electronic diary, but you didn't want to let go of those floaties for a while, did you?
No, I actually worked with both for a bit, but thought, I did work with both an actual diary, but now I've gone to note-taking instead.
Yeah, and you can see here when we have the visual representation of the diary, the major thing is those colour codes, huh?
Exactly. That's what I was just about to say. What I've just seen here, exactly what I did was even in my paper diary, I highlighted everything because I want to see where I'm spending my time, and it makes such a difference to block out your days before you even start the week. You know where you are, you know what you're doing, and that's a perfect illustration of it.
And then you had that big quote which made me crack up when Jackie said today, as long as I can see 14 listing presentations in there for the week, I know that we're going to be okay. So there it is, folks. If you've got a focus on the right number of listing presentations but a visual representation, it allows you to lock on. I know that we've got Nathan Kane on here as well, and I'll just see if I can... Yeah, you are there, mate. Just open your mic for a second. You there, mate?
Yeah.
Okay, just hang on a sec, Jack. I just because I don't want it to feed back, I'll just put Jackie on hold there a sec. Mate, so you started using the paper-based diary, did you not?
Yeah, March, after list and sell in March.
And this month you're about to finish on how many listings you on for this month right now?
I listed 24 yesterday.
The 24th listing yesterday.
Yeah.
So there must be some magic in the paper-based. So would you want to share with everybody what you got out of the paper-based diary?
I like the affirmations in the morning, so I write my targets for the morning. So like I can see in your picture there, you've got today's results, like list such and such, reduce to sell, and what I wanted to sell for the day. And then to be honest, I haven't done the color codes properly. I still need to work out how to do that effectively. But yeah, just planning my day on paper has made a massive difference.
Yeah, well, see, what I say is, for those of you that are listening, it's the art of actually physically writing it that has it lock in, and then you bring it on. So when you talk about affirmations, up here in the results section, I've always believed if you write these in before you've gotten them first thing in the morning, then there's more likelihood of you actually achieving them because you lock in on that. Would you agree with that, mate?
Yeah, absolutely. Like my result every day, I write book a listing appointment, and that's kind of what's in my head every day.
Well, there it is. Well, thanks, mate. Thanks for that contribution. I'm just going to flick back to Jack now, if that's okay.
Yeah, no worries.
All right. So now the other thing to actually look at, so you see the color coding with the diary and how that works. And I've just got Jackie back online. So also, Jack, when you look at the thing holistically, you said that you also log all the calls there, which I was quite curious about.
Log all the calls, yeah, absolutely. So because we've got other things to implement with our database and everything like that, I want to know every inquiry. Yeah, and I mean, there's a whole topic that you could talk about with that. I want to know what my buyers are inquiring about, so we enter that into the other system. But with having that paper, I actually, after open homes, as much as what we can do, electronic, I like doing the paper, even at my open homes, because I like sitting there with my book and doing it that way. It's still done electronically, so for future reference I can go back to that, but yeah, I am comfortable with that.
Yeah, well, I know that we just spoke to Nathan, and I know that he's been electronic, come back, and now I believe that he might even be a bit reluctant with having such great results. 24 listings is not bad, is it, Jack?
I know, I'm like going, holy dooly.
Yeah, well, when people hear you do 14, 15 sales a month and 17 sales a month, they freak out too, I can assure you.
I know, I'm like, that's insane. That's fantastic. Well done.
Well, pretty good when you realise that he doesn't have any assistants at all. That's just him. So that's pretty good. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so look, the other thing that you want to have written up in there is your listings to get. This needs to be, once a month, so you're looking toward the end of the month. Now, how important is that to you, Jackie? Because I've got David Willison, I'm going to get him on here to speak a little bit later, but notably about price reductions. The man is a sledgehammer when it comes to price reductions. But I know that just
Can I just
recently,
ask,
only
Mark, with
this week, I said
can I
to
just
listen,
ask?
mate, what you've got to do is just get up on the board all of the presentations, anyone that's even so much as got a whiff of maybe wanting to sell, get those up on the board, see them visually, and you'll come across more listings. And of course, he's done that, and I'll get him to share that when we get to the end. But I mean, you do focus on, making sure those appointments are in there. But if the appointments aren't there, then you go to those listings to get, and it's like, how do I convert those over to listing presentations? Correct?
Absolutely. And so every Monday I make sure that my spreadsheet is up to date with. I want to know what presentations I've done to follow up and all of that sort of thing. But you just said something about reduce to sell, Mark. Really, in this market, do we really need to reduce to sell?
Well, you're talking to some guys in Western Australia. The market's entirely different. So where
Okay.
you're probably headed to in Queensland, or where you have been in the past, they are in the thick of it. Yeah, their markets come off. They've got to be ripping back prices. When I tell you some of the price reductions, I'll just let the cat out of the bag now. Yeah, David Willis did 2 yesterday. He's got some great news on one of those, by the way. He brought one
I'll
back
listen
from
to that.
575 to 495. That's quite a hit. And another one
Huge.
back from 440 to 375.
Mm.
So yeah, big. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. I think the big difference this year, this has been my biggest year ever, and yet I wasn't focusing on real estate this year. I wanted to focus on other things like my life.
Yep.
Yet I've had the biggest year ever. I think a lot of it with real estate is attributed to knowing your facts, your figures, your numbers, and where you're at, and what you need to go for, and setting those goals and writing it all down.
Oh yeah, look, mate, most definitely. When that starts, when we talk about beginning with the end in mind and making sure you got your why together. But I'm just gonna move to that in just a second. So just give me 1 second, so I'll bring you back on that point. It's a very important one that you made this morning in our discussions. But here with the diary, here's a simple checklist, people. Daily, you've got to have that today's results section up the top, which you all saw. In your appointments, your listing presentation should be coloured off in a yellow highlighter. It just makes it so simple when you're looking at your day and your week and your month in view, or as you flick through the pages. I mean, I knew each day as a salesperson, if I had one of each coloured highlights in my diary, then I had every chance of producing on a daily basis. The R2S meetings, all in the green highlighter, and of course your open for inspections and or second inspections or individual buyer appointments need to be highlighted in orange. You have that to-do list. All great achievers have to-do lists. It's as simple as that. Checkpoints are important. I don't know if you picked up on that as we go back, but that's just estimating where you are up to in what stage of the month and what your ETA will be. So it's a simple formula. If those of you want to write it down, you just see the current number of listings and or sales that you have, divide it by the day you are up to in the month, multiply it out by 28, because you should only be working a 28-day month, and you'll know what your estimated arrival will be on your results and whether or not you need to pick it up. Bearing in mind, of course, that what you want to have is you want to have accomplished half the result in a third of the time. I mean, it's just something that Jackie just shared with us just 2 minutes ago, where she said she's having her most productive real estate year this year, yet she is less focused on the hours that she's working, but more focused on being productive inside of those hours. And that is the key. And of course, with drawings, the reason I don't like pink highlighters every time I see them, I just put it in there. If people want to know why I freak out, it's because pink highlighters to me have always meant withdrawn. So anything highlighted in pink throughout the organisation meant that someone withdrew, and I just don't like pink highlighters for that reason. Brett Coombs asked us a question here about what is an R2S. That obviously means you haven't been to the Listen to Sell tour. Brett, an R2S stands for reduce to sell. So it's an appointment to talk to the seller about lowering their expectation on price. And if you just wait, in just a very short space of time, we're going to have David Willis on board with us to discuss that. Now, Jack, what I did want to talk to you about was...
Where did you get that photo from?
Hey?
Where did you get that photo
You
from?
know what I'm like? I take all these snappy happies all the time. Now, you think I'm just putting them in the diary and there's nothing going to happen with them, but eventually they find their way back out. You look gorgeous there. What are you talking about? Okay, so here's one big quote that you made that I've already let the cat out of the bag on. Yeah, 5 years into it was still using a paper-based diary. And then there was this quote, every phone call is still logged on paper. And isn't it funny that right in front of you down there, you've got the paper where you log the stuff, haven't you?
Yes.
That's why I was smirking this morning, because I knew I had a photo of you doing just that. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. So here it is. Every call's logged on still paper. But here's the funny thing that I heard Jack say this morning that really freaked me out. Can you remember what it was?
About, I don't like the word busy.
Yeah, when you mentioned the word busy, I just thought it was one of the most wonderful quotes I've ever heard. Remember how it went?
Everyone says I'm busy, but to me, I hate that word and I say I'm productive because it's an excuse. I'm too busy.
Yeah, I'm too busy, yep. But what it really actually means is, so you say that for some reason they tell you they're busy, but when you ask them about their numbers, they can't tell you what their numbers are. And you said,
No.
It's not about being busy. You said, like, look, honestly, Mark, this morning when we were talking, you said, I don't feel like I've even worked hard to do this. Yeah? You said once you understand the numbers, everything comes to life and it's easy to control them. Would that be right?
Yeah. And I'm not doing anything special, really.
Told you about that. You are doing something very special. There aren't many people that say, as long as I have 14 listing presentations, everything's going to be okay. So what I want you to do, I agree with you that most of the people listening here can emulate the wonderful lead that you're giving them, but you are definitely doing something special. I don't know many people that, I just, even when you say to me in certain months you've done 17 sales, even I freak out, not saying that I'm some sort of freak myself, but like I thought I was pretty special doing 10 sales a month. I don't know how you did 17. So,
You get the listings, remember?
what's that?
You get the listings.
Yes. And what we say is moving to the electronic after you've mastered the mental diary. So you don't speak. What I say is, and this is the conversation that I was having with Jackie this morning. I said, look, in your head, even though you've now moved to the electronic diary, and you tell everyone the primary reason that you did.
Yeah.
What was that?
Oh, yes. Because of the fact of having a team and them knowing what I was doing and everything like that. No point in me having the appointments and them not knowing my targets. The big thing is with the electronic, I can do my to-do lists, late at night for my PA, so they know what they need to do the next day. But I can also see it's a way, because I get too many emails. I just want to go, what have they done? So it's like I'll set tasks for them. I want to know targets are met. I don't want to be looking at have they done this, have they done that. But in my electronic diary, the to-do list is so important to my business because they're things I don't want to worry about, but I also want them to know where I am, and they know my times that are booked out for my prospecting. So I pretty much I book out every morning is my prospecting, so they won't make appointments. And so it's just purely so they're in sync what I'm doing.
Yes, and the key, of course, is syncing that team. So the left hand knows what the right hand is doing. But here's the point that I want to make to all of the people listening to this now. Jackie was able to comfortably move over to the electronic version because she still has, in her mind's eye, the paper-based version worked out. So because of that, because of the years of using that paper-based version, it is very, very easy for her to prioritize and focus on the tasks that are important toward maintaining the productivity. And I think that's been your single largest, I guess, characteristic that has actually allowed you to get into those big numbers. I mean, how many times have you heard people in your local area say that it's tough on the Gold Coast
Yep.
to find listings? Do you hear this?
Yeah.
And every now and then you'll get a listing that you might be struggling with because they don't want to pay a certain amount of money to you. And I know there's been times when you've called me about it and I said, well, all you got to do is walk away. And you go, no, I don't. I want to. Remember we had those arguments?
We did back then, but now I go, you know what? I'm not reducing to my commission to that. That's a listing gone, and I don't care.
But most of the time, when you do refuse to reduce it, what do they then do? Most of the time.
Most of the time, my commission, you mean?
Yeah, if you refuse to reduce it, most of the time they turn around and they go, okay, they run with it, don't they?
And they come back. I don't lose many listings.
Yeah. All fantastic. So that's great. I'd love it if you'd like to hang around, Jackie, but, and thanks for that, and have a great trip. Looking forward to having you at Real Estate Rockstar, where you're going to share all of your wonderful wisdom with people. But, what I was saying to Jackie this morning is I'm really pleased that she did this. I'm being a bit selfish because I would much rather her forget about work for a while. So switch off now, go into the office tomorrow, take it easy, and we'll see you when you get back.
All right, and the other thing is, Mark, I know there's a few people on here, and I've connected with a few people that have listened to us and seen us do some stuff. I'm always happy to help and share with other people. So I am on Facebook if you want to friend me. I'm happy to chat. Night times are best for me because my days are back-to-back with appointments. But I'm always happy to share and help people out. So if anyone wants to connect with me, I'm happy to do that as well, okay?
If the phone's engaged at 1:30 in the morning, that's because she's on the phone to me. Okay.
Thank you. Okay then.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, so once you've mastered that, then you want to move into the foothold stage. So we've got the diary, we're still in preparation. Now when we talk about foothold, it is imperative that I make this point across to you. I don't know why I didn't say this properly to people. I blame myself. I do not blame you. I have lost count of the amount of people that come to the List and Sell tour. They see the ideas that I put before them. They pick the easiest one. Notably, that is usually Fat Boy. I'll just do a bunch of these letters. I'll stick them out and hey presto, I'll have listings. So I want to say this slowly. Please pick up your pen if you've had any trouble implementing Foothold, and write this down. The success of Foothold is the sum of all of its parts. It's not any one thing in isolation. So if you do Fat Boy and it does not have the support of the sign cards being put under the doors and in the letterboxes, then there is every chance that it won't work. If you are not focused on getting signs on the main arterial roads, let's say Fat Boy's not working, well, you should be looking at, hopefully, your rental department and some signs you might be able to secure. If you can't do that, then I would look at past sales. I would beg, borrow and steal, whatever it takes to get that first thing up. So sign cards are the first thing. Then a sign board. So you can see here Paul Billinghurst, who was with the Lovegrove Professionals over in Auckland, went ahead and got one of the landlords to allow him to put a sell with sign up in the front garden. Now, I know this was vetoed. I know that he was asked to take it down, but the point is he got it up for a period of time. Now, I don't know what made me say that. Now, in order to get these erected all at the same time, what I say is you have to plan. So I would go ahead in the planning stage, which is where we're at, and I would pick, if I was servicing an area, and I do want to make this point, again, I've heard that people are looking at areas of around 1,000 houses. It's not enough. You must, in evaluation, ensure that you are looking at a service area, a farm, whatever you want to call it, that has enough properties to give you the capacity, a reasonable chance of doing around 80 to as many as 100 sales per annum. So that would mean that you would need an area of at least 2,500 properties to be a strong chance at making that number of sales. So if I was getting those signs up on those main arteries, I would try to get anywhere from 3 to 5. I would plan them well ahead. I would pick a month where they all went up on the same day. Now, on that same time, in the lead up the week before, I'd have the sign cards going out. I'd also have the fat boy letters going out to get me more signs on those main arterial roads. And indeed, I would have the market roundup or something similar. Now, as we say at Property Marketer, we do this for you. Most of the people on here that are in offices where you have Property Marketer, this is a no-brainer. The key to success with the market roundup is it tells people how the market is, gives some visual representation of sellers, has a smattering of sales so they can figure out what their property's worth. But here's the real key. The real key is making sure that it goes out the same day, on the same month, and looks the same all the time, reliably and consistently. Do these things in Foothold in concert, all at the same time. So when if you're thinking, what does he mean? Do we send these electronically in the Foothold stage? Probably not. I'd go and get them printed out. Have enough printed out for my farm area and whack this out, and I'd probably do it for at least 3 months to get the thing started. And I would have a cover letter, which we have available, a cover letter that sits on top and shows them how to subscribe to it electronically. But remember, you're trying to break a market, break into a market, or re-establish a market where you've lost foothold. This is the hard slog component. That is why we color code it red, because it is necessary but not income producing in the context that they're going to find more dormants than active property sellers. In traction, and I'm delighted to see in preparation that we have people that are now putting out LA Woman. LA Woman is the just listed that has no photo of the property. Here we see a re-representation of the for sale sign on the backside. You flip it over, just listed in your neighborhood. There's all the appropriate, sorry, I don't know what keeps happening. There's all the appropriate data, wording, that goes with it. Then there's a Voto accolade that comes from people that have sold with you, and this is what goes out. The key, the reason that LA Woman is so successful is because it doesn't have a photograph of the property. It mentions the street, so you can see up the top, we've just listed a property on Johns Road, doesn't give the number, no photograph of the property, there's been no signboard put on it, and nowhere has it been advertised. It goes out within the first 72 hours. Anyone that calls off this is a seller. That's the key. You need to have prepared a buyer's and sellers, in particular sellers, information pack to distribute at your open for inspections. If you have these on board and are able to present these to prospects, as they enter the open for inspection, then the dissemination of sellers from buyers will be made easy. Now, this is a major contributor. Again, this is not even from a list and sell point of view. I was talking to a sales team leader, and I said, you've just got to get the big 3 sources right. We need to have a sales inquiry log and be monitoring that and harvesting it correctly. You must have a point of difference with your welcome homes or open for inspections, and be able to qualify sellers from there, but also attract them. And then thirdly, you need to have the regenerative prospecting process, which we're talking about now. You must have your Telegram SAMs out there and be using these. The thing that I keep trying to impress upon us from an implementation point of view is that the moment you get a listing, please write this down even though you may have written it in the past. Every time you secure a listing, your immediate thought must be, how do I leverage this into two more? Spend way more time focused on the procurement of an abundance of property sellers, and the future is yours. All right, he didn't want me to put this up there because we had the conversation this morning. He said go for it. So I want all of you to forgive him because it's my fault and I will take the heat for this. But this bloke is without doubt the champion, in my opinion, of price reductions. Every single time I've had a conversation with this man who is now leading a sales team about what to do as it might relate to reducing prices, he has without question just followed the direction and the results speak for themselves. So I'll take the heat for this. I said, don't fuck around with R2Ss, and he said, mate, I don't fuck around. And here he is on the line. How are you there, David?
I'm going to kill you.
I know you're going to kill me. But, mate, kill me when you're a very rich old real estate agent. We're sitting back and then we'll decide who the bad guy is. All right, mate?
At least use a decent bloody photo, for God's sakes.
Oh, is that what you're upset about? Here's me.
There aren't any, are there?
The word, fuck. No, it's actually the photograph. Mate, what I was really hoping you would share with everyone today is just a little bit of a story because, and look, this relates. I know that, David, you're leading a team now, and it's been a bit of a test so far, has it not?
Certainly has been, yeah.
In some ways, it can be a little bit like herding cats because, if you give yourself an order, you usually follow through, hey? But if you give someone else an order, well, who knows?
Pretty much.
And it's been a bit of a challenge, but so you were talking to me the other day and you said, look, it's the market's gotten a bit tighter. We've got a few listings up there. We just don't feel like the listing flow is coming the way that it should be just yet. And I said, mate, just get them all on the board. Get everything up there. And I'll let you tell the story.
What, price reductions?
Well, before we get to price reductions, let's just talk about the listings to get and how some of them where you thought things weren't happening and you went out there and followed a few up and...
Yeah, well, we've got all the archives that we use in the office and sort of give those to the reps. They phone a few a day. There's following up old appraisals. There's money just sitting in the office in boxes. It's just sitting there. You just got to go digging for it and make enough calls, and it's happening. I mean, our cadet, he's been with me for a week.
Yeah.
First load of archive box, the first load of archives he goes through, bam, picks up a lead. He's out letter dropping, gets a lead. The stuff coming in just from the cadet alone. Dale and John, I've never seen a couple of guys work so hard as those guys. Seriously, I know Dale's on here. I'm not sure whether. I think John had some trouble connecting, but yeah, I mean those guys are just amazing to watch. Their work ethic and their appetite for it is just incredible.
Well, look, I know Dale's listening because I can see him on there twice, so I don't know whether someone's actually borrowed his second one. Yes, John has. Okay, so there's both on there, mate. And isn't it funny how, with both of them, they're switched onto it. But look, it comes from the essence of a good leader. The real point to make here, and I've been saying this for a number of years, I used to play this game. So in implementation, I hope that everyone's locked onto this. And it's just a line that I ask you to write in your journal in front of you, if you've got it in front of you. I used to say to myself, look, my next listing when I sat at my desk should be within arm's reach. I shouldn't have to get up from the desk in order to locate it. Yeah. And it has to be here.
Yep.
And I ought to be able to find it within 5 minutes. And this was the game I used to play with myself. The reason that I would say 5 minutes, because it forced me to think of the easiest way to find one. Now, they're right under your nose. Now, when sales start to flourish, and I know that a lot of you aren't in Western Australia and things might be still fairly or relatively rosy in the price department, but over there in, well, definitely in Bunbury, she's been a bit of a test of late, would you say, Dave?
It's been extremely challenging. You know, Jackie was sort of saying, well, do you really need to focus on price reductions? That's pretty much our main focus, is getting prices down. As an example, I sold a house in 2010 for 1.29 million. Sold it again last month for 980,000.
So that's a 25% hit.
Yeah, I mean, he's talking, you know, stamp duty, agents, selling costs, all those sorts of things. He's looking upwards of nearly $400,000 loss.
Yep.
Prices, and it's, you know, it's the same with. I've got one listed. One of the ones I reduced yesterday, he paid 575,000 for it. I've now got that listed at 450 to 495. You know, it's. Yeah, that's just the way the market is at the moment, mate. And we've really got to focus on managing the listings and getting the prices down. And some of the guys, you know, won't. They're just kind of going, oh no, price won't come down. He can't afford to. He's decided to take it off the market. I know
we're taking the piss and we're having a bit of a laugh about what we wrote with this photograph and what we spoke about this morning. But in all seriousness, was it that difficult to get those prices down?
No. One of the guys even asked me to.
So
you know,
So the very first instance, what you had to do was actually pick up the phone and ask them if you could come down and see them?
Yeah, well, I did a home open on Saturday at one place, and I rang her afterwards, and I said, look, we had nobody through, and I do need to come back and see you around about 4 o'clock after I finished my other home opens. And she said, why? I said, well, we just need to have a chat. And she went, She knew why. And she goes, yeah, all right. Started talking marketing, talking about, you know, how many home opens are we going to do, before, you know, with nobody coming through. That was the second one in a row. She went off her trolley, went and grabbed a bottle of Southern Comfort. And I think the main reason that a lot of salespeople won't confront it is because they're scared somebody's going to yell at them, or I don't know, call reluctance there for some reason. I mean, if somebody wants to yell and scream and carry on at me, that's fine, as long as they reduce the price afterwards. I don't care. If somebody wants to call me a complete wanker, and I've got no problem with that whatsoever.
Yeah.
Because not doing it, not making that call, and the one that from 575 to 495, that guy said to me, he said, we're looking to buy in Mandurah. Now, the problem is Mandurah prices are rising. And I said, well, that's really bad, because in Bunbury, they're dropping. So I said, the further this drops and the more yours goes up, the further you are behind actually securing a property. We've got to do something.
Yes.
And I could have said to him, oh, look, let's go from 575. Let's try 565 and see if that makes a difference, or maybe 550. He said, what do we need to do? And I said, mate, you need to be way under 500. And he did. He spat it. So I just sat there and listened. I didn't interrupt. I just let him explode. And then I said, so what are your thoughts?
Yeah. And the rest, as they say, from that point forward, is history. Yeah?
Yeah.
And I noticed you posted something up today. That wasn't one of these properties that sold, was it?
No, that's another one that reduced that sold. It's funny, you put a reduced sticker on, and you know the next thing that's going to happen is you're going to stick a sold sticker on.
Yeah. So there it is.
You know,
the moment you get a reduction within a definitive period, I usually say within 14 days, if the price reduction was right, you can pretty much confidently say that it will move across to sold. Would that be a correct assumption?
It would be, and I just want to point out, this isn't about overpricing houses and belting people later on. It's not about marketing a property and smashing them for a quick sale. It's got nothing to do with that whatsoever. The market, and anybody in WA will back this up, is the market has fallen away substantially. Some people have been left high and dry. Some sellers just haven't been called. They haven't had that discussion. But it's like I say to the guys: every time you get a price reduction, you're getting closer to a sale. And as I say, there just seems to be some sort of fear with people that someone's going to yell at me, well, boo-hoo.
Yeah. Well, as I say,
You know?
most of it's in the setup to sell. We talk about that, on the flip side of the listing presentation. But if push comes to shove, and I noticed that Paul Walsh has just put a comment in there. He's saying that the reality is the owners know that it is not sold, and as much as they might resist, they know it has to come down. Just ask, 100%. But some of the things that to give people some assurance is say, like, because these aren't little trims on these properties. I mean, they're 20%, 10%. That's quite a hit. But to my mind, it's by not focusing on the money, but rather focusing on the motive that is at hand. Now, I know that there was one yesterday you were a little bit put off the scent by, with someone who told you that he didn't, or she didn't, think that the property owners wanted to sell, and you went out and saw them, and the motive, let's just leave the price aside for a second, was acute, was it not, David?
It was, extremely. And that's when you need to have that hard discussion with them. And as I say, I have got no problem with having that hard discussion. People might hate you when you suggest a price, and it's like, you list and sell tour. You said to the attendee in Perth, go and get a price reduction of $5.35, and he came back and said, well, I almost spat out $5.35, but I lost my bottle and said $5.45. You cannot lose your bottle. You can't. You've just got to hold firm on what your belief is.
Well, we'll be addressing that in later implementation. I can give you some fairly simple techniques to help you avoid doing that. But ultimately, to me, it's just about engaging the discussion. And if we can get past that first hurdle, we're on the way. They're just people. Nobody's going to get shot. Nobody's going to get killed. And as I used to say inside my company, and I know that yours is the same as well, David, is that there is absolutely no penalty for having a go.
No, that's right. And I mean, I was saying to the guys today that people have got their house on the market for a reason. They're either hurting financially, they hate the house, they don't want to live there anymore, they've outgrown it, or it's whatever it happens to be, but they don't want to be there anymore. And very often it's a salesperson that's standing in their way.
Yes.
They just won't make that call.
Yes, 100%, mate, 100%.
And I don't know whether there's other principles on here. I'm not too sure. I'm not familiar with a lot of people, but make the call for you, Rex. Pick the phone up and just phone the sellers.
Well, this is exactly what we discussed, mate. And sometimes if you're a salesperson listening into that and you need some help, it can actually be better coming from a sales manager because they've never met them. It's actually easier to just hit them whereas you might have developed some sort of relationship that's creating that bit of reluctance. So all good, mate.
Classic example there, Mark, is that one of the guys in the office, I don't think John will mind me saying this, he tried to get a price reduction from a guy. He just wouldn't be in it. I phoned him up and said, "G'day, David here, just principal of the office, just so I give you a bell, see how things are going." And walked out and handed back the file to John with a $60,000 price reduction. So, if the reps can't do it, it is the principal's responsibility to actually help them out. And, it was just a quick less than 5 minute conversation. I handed the file back to John and, he's British, he just looked at me and, how the fuck do you do that? we have to help our sales team.
That's it, mate, 100%. Well, thanks very much for that, mate. I'm just going to cut off the recorded bit right there and say thanks for everyone for attending List and Sell Implementer. We look forward to the second installment of Implementer 2